I'm Emily Carter, 29 years old. On a beautiful Tuesday morning, I was sitting in my usual corner at the Starbucks near my apartment, laptop open, working on a logo design for a local bakery. The notification from my Chase Bank app cut through the ambient coffee shop chatter, pulling me into a storm of emotions. Your credit card ending in 4829 has been charged Mont Quan Loan at Louis Vuitton Beverly Hills. The smell of espresso suddenly turned sharp in my nostrils. The morning sunlight streaming through the window felt too bright as I scrolled through a string of other transactions. Luxury shopping, expensive dining, hotel charges, airline tickets. My hands trembled as I dialed my sister Madison's number. "Oh my God, Emily!" Her voice bubbled through the phone with genuine excitement. "Thank you so much for letting me borrow your card for this weekend trip. I bought the most incredible things, and the flight to Napa Valley was amazing." "Madison, I never gave you permission to use my card." A pause, then a light laugh. "Come on, Em. You know you don't have any big plans for that money anyway." The coffee in my cup had gone cold. My reflection stared back at me from my laptop screen. In that moment, I understood. This wasn't a mistake. This was calculated betrayal. Growing up in suburban Phoenix, I learned early that in the Carter family, there were rules. Madison, 5 years older, was the golden child. Beautiful, charismatic, the one everyone adored. I was the responsible one, working part-time since 16, paying my own way through college, managing money carefully. Our parents divorced when I was 14. After that, Madison perfected the art of getting what she wanted through charm, while I learned the harder lesson of self-reliance. Age 17. The homecoming dress incident. "Emily stole my dress money." Madison's voice carried across our living room, theatrical and wounded. I remembered the smell of my mother's vanilla candles burning on the mantel as the accusation hung in the air. I'd found money crumpled in Madison's jacket pocket when I was doing laundry, the money Mom had given her for a dress. I'd placed it carefully on Madison's dresser, but Madison had already spent that money elsewhere, panicked when Mom asked about the dress, and found her scapegoat. "Madison left the money in her jeans," I said quietly. "I put it on her dresser." But Madison's tears were more convincing than my truth. I spent 2 weeks grounded while Madison got a new dress, paid for with my movie theater job earnings. The dress shopping trip was agony. The fluorescent lights in the department store felt harsh, and the scratch of price tags against my fingers reminded me that I was paying for someone else's lie. College years, the emergency loan cycle. I need some money for textbooks. I'll pay you back next month, I promise." Madison's voice through my dorm room phone was honey-sweet and urgent. I transferred money from my savings account, built dollar by dollar from my campus restaurant job. Next month became next semester. Next semester became next year. The pattern repeated over and over. Madison's crisis, my money, her promises, my silence when the promises were broken. Years later, I realized I'd given her thousands of dollars that never came back. Each time she had a new excuse, and I was too afraid of being called selfish to push back. "Emily, you have great credit. I need someone to co-sign on this apartment lease in LA. I have this incredible job interview lined up." Madison's eyes sparkled with possibility, and I wanted so badly to believe in her dreams. I signed the lease. Madison moved in with fanfare and big plans. 3 months later, she'd lost the job interview and stopped paying rent. When the landlord came after the cosigner, my credit score plummeted and I spent months rebuilding my financial stability. "I'm sorry, Em, but you know how competitive the entertainment industry is," Madison had said with a shrug. "Besides, you're better with money stuff anyway." 6 months ago, I'd finally achieved something I was proud of: steady freelance income and my own studio apartment. For the first time in my adult life, I felt financially secure. When Madison called asking to visit for a sisterly bonding weekend, the first time in 2 years, I was genuinely excited. We had dinner, watched movies, talked about our futures. It felt like maybe we could have a real adult relationship. The morning she left, I noticed my spare credit card was missing from my wallet. I assumed I'd misplaced it. The pattern was clear. Madison created crises, I provided solutions, she faced no consequences, and I absorbed all the damage. But this time felt different. This wasn't borrowing or manipulating me into helping. This was outright theft, calculated and premeditated. For the first time in 29 years, I wasn't going to stay quiet and absorb the blow. Standing on that Starbucks sidewalk with my phone pressed to my ear, I felt something shift in my chest. The weight of 29 years of being treated like a personal ATM finally broke through my trained politeness. Madison, you stole my credit card. Stole? God, Emily, don't be so dramatic. We're sisters. The financial reality hit immediately. My credit limit was nearly maxed out from her luxury weekend spree. I canceled the card on the spot, but the damage was done. Chase customer service explained that the dispute process would take weeks, and I'd be responsible for payments until then. Sitting in my studio apartment that evening, rent I could barely afford on good months, I realized how precarious my situation really was. Freelance income was unpredictable at best. I had no emergency fund, and now my primary credit line was compromised. Within hours, my social media feeds became a catalog of my own humiliation. Madison had documented every moment of her luxury weekend: designer shopping bags, expensive wine tastings, five-star hotel rooms, all funded by my stolen credit card, but presented as if I'd willingly sponsored her vacation. Best sister ever treated me to a weekend getaway. Sister love, blessed, sigh your Napa Valley. The comments poured in from family and friends. Emily, you're such a generous sister. Madison is so lucky to have you. What a sweet surprise. The narrative was already set. Madison had positioned herself as the grateful recipient of my sisterly generosity, and I was trapped in a story I'd never agreed to tell. Mom called that evening, her voice tight with disapproval. Emily, Madison says you're accusing her of stealing. That's a very serious thing to say about family. Mom, she took my credit card without asking and spent nearly $5,000. Honey, family helps family. Madison said you knew about the trip. Maybe there was just some miscommunication? Miscommunication. The word hit me like a physical blow. It was the same dismissive language from every childhood incident, every college loan, every time I'd been hurt by Madison's choices. My experience was always reframed as confusion, oversensitivity, or misunderstanding. The part trained by years of family dynamics whispered that maybe I should just let it go. Madison was struggling. She'd said so herself. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe good sisters absorbed this kind of thing quietly. But a stronger voice, one that had been growing louder over the years, said something different. Taking someone's credit card without permission is theft. Period. Physical stress manifested quickly. I lost weight I couldn't afford to lose, sleeping only 3 or 4 hours a night. My apartment walls seemed to close in. The sound of traffic outside my window became overwhelming. I avoided calls from extended family who wanted to congratulate me on my generosity. My work suffered. I missed deadlines, couldn't concentrate, lost potential clients. Sitting at my computer, I'd stare at the design software while financial anxiety crushed my creativity. I was sitting on my kitchen floor with bills spread around me, calculator in hand, trying to figure out how to survive the next month. The late afternoon sunlight slanted through my windows, and for the first time in years, the silence wasn't filled with Madison's voice telling me what I'd done wrong. In that silence, I could finally think clearly. This wasn't family helping family. This was systematic exploitation that relied on my guilt, my desire for family harmony, and my trained fear of being seen as the selfish sister. Madison had never intended to pay anything back. Not the textbook money, not the dress cost, not the co-signing debt, and certainly not this credit card theft. She relied on patterns she'd established over decades. Emily absorbs consequences. Family protects Madison. Life continues. But this time, I had something I'd never had before: adult resources, evidence, documentation. Opening my laptop, I created a new folder on my desktop. Madison, evidence. For the first time in my life, instead of quietly absorbing the pain and moving on, I decided to fight back systematically. The coffee shop sounds from that morning echoed in my memory. The smell of espresso. The morning light on my laptop screen. Details of the moment my life changed direction. This time, I wouldn't just survive. I'd expose everything. Building a case against my own family felt surreal, but Madison had left me no choice. At the public library, surrounded by the quiet hum of computers and the soft shuffle of pages, I became my own private investigator. My banking records told the clearest story. Chase's online portal revealed Madison's luxury weekend spree, nearly maxing out my credit card. The timeline painted itself through high-end transactions across Beverly Hills and Napa Valley. Every purchase was GPS tagged and time-stamped, creating a perfect map of Madison's stolen weekend. Madison's social media became an evidence goldmine. Instagram stories showing her designer purchases in real time, Facebook posts about her spontaneous getaway. She'd documented her own crime spree, time-stamped and geotagged. Screenshots captured everything. Every post, every story, every comment from friends congratulating her on her amazing trip. Madison had made crucial mistakes in covering her tracks. Physical receipts and travel documents turned up everywhere. In her car, at Mom's house, tucked inside the designer purchases themselves, all correlating perfectly with my banking records and showing my credit card information. The most damaging physical evidence was handwritten. Madison's own notes about weekend expenses that matched my credit card charges line by line. Mrs. Chen, our family's neighbor for 15 years, agreed to provide a written statement. Madison asked to borrow my phone charger the morning she left Emily's apartment. She said her phone had died and she needed to check something important. I saw her spend about 10 minutes alone in Emily's bedroom. That's when the spare credit card went missing. Jessica, my college roommate who now lived in Phoenix, provided crucial social context. I saw Madison's social media posts about having a mystery benefactor fund her luxury weekend. I thought it was strange she'd be so public about someone paying for her trip. Madison usually keeps financial stuff private, unless she's trying to make a point. Jake, my apartment building's doorman, remembered the morning clearly. Your sister left around 8 a.m. Saturday. She seemed really excited, said she was heading to the airport for a surprise vacation. She was carrying a small overnight bag but mentioned she'd be shopping for everything else she needed. Kayla, Madison's friend, had been bothered by something all week. Finally, she sent me screenshots of text messages Madison had sent her during the shopping spree. Madison: Emily is so gullible. I literally took her credit card and she probably thinks she misplaced it. Kayla: Aren't you worried she'll find out? Madison: Please. She never stands up for herself. Family always takes my side anyway. Kayla: That's kind of messed up, Mads. Madison: Whatever. She makes good money now. She can afford it. The timestamps matched perfectly with her shopping spree. Reading those words, seeing my sister's contempt for me written out in black and white, was like having the breath knocked out of me. This was the first time I'd seen her casual cruelty documented so clearly. I created a comprehensive pattern analysis spanning over a decade. Teen years. False accusations leading to financial responsibility. College era. Emergency loans totaling thousands, never repaid. Post-college. Co-signing disaster damaging my credit. Present. Outright credit card theft. Each incident followed an identical pattern: Madison created a crisis, pressured me with family guilt, took my resources, and faced no consequences. Professional consultation confirmed my suspicions. A legal aid attorney reviewed my evidence and was unequivocal. This is textbook credit card fraud. The premeditation is clear, the documentation is solid. You have grounds for criminal charges if you choose to pursue them. But I didn't want criminal proceedings. I wanted something more powerful: family accountability. Sitting in my apartment that Friday evening, evidence organized across my kitchen table, I felt something I'd never experienced before: the clarity that comes from knowing you're absolutely, undeniably right. They thought I was weak. But weakness doesn't build cases this thorough. Madison's desperation call came exactly when I expected it. "Emily, honey." Her voice carried that familiar manufactured emotion I'd heard my entire life. "I think we made a terrible mistake. I heard you filed some kind of report. We're family. Can't we work this out?" The same voice that had accused me of stealing her dress money in high school, that had borrowed thousands in college, that had just committed credit card fraud, now wanted to work things out. "What about the money you spent using my credit card without permission?" I kept my voice perfectly level. "Look, maybe I should have asked first, but I knew you'd want to help if I explained the situation. You know how hard things have been for me lately. Should have asked first. Not, 'I'm sorry for stealing.' Not, 'I'll pay you back immediately.' Just a casual acknowledgement that maybe, possibly, she should have asked permission before committing a felony. 'I'll consider not pursuing this further,' I said carefully. 'But we need to have a family meeting. Everyone present. I want to clear the air about what really happened.'" Her relief was audible through the phone. "Yes. Sunday dinner. Just like when we were kids. I'll ask Mom to make her famous pot roast." Comfort food in a familiar setting. She was already trying to recreate childhood dynamics where she was protected and I was silenced. "I'll bring some materials to help explain my perspective on everything," I added. "Of course. We all want to understand how you're feeling about this." How I'm feeling, as if grand theft was a matter of emotional interpretation. Technical preparation consumed my Saturday. I tested my portable projector setup in my apartment, running through the presentation slides I'd created. 12 minutes to systematically dismantle 30 years of gaslighting with evidence. I chose my outfit like armor: navy blazer, white blouse, dark pants, professional conference attire for a family courtroom. Evidence binders sat stacked on my kitchen counter. Timeline analysis, digital documentation, physical evidence, witness statements. Each tab labeled, each page in protective sleeves. The phone calls began Saturday evening. "Mom, Emily, I hope tomorrow will be a chance for healing. Madison feels terrible about the misunderstanding." "Mom, she committed credit card fraud. This isn't a misunderstanding." "Honey, that's such a harsh word. Can't we just focus on moving forward as a family?" Dad texted, "Looking forward to having my girls back together. Let's keep tomorrow positive." Positive. Code for, don't make Madison face consequences. Sunday morning arrived crisp and clear. I loaded my evidence into the car with steady hands. No nervousness, just focused determination. The drive to Mom's house through familiar suburban streets felt like traveling through my past. Every turn a reminder of childhood dynamics I was about to shatter. Pulling into the driveway where I'd learned to ride a bike, where Madison had pushed me off the swing set when our parents weren't looking, where family meetings had consistently resulted in my punishment for crimes I'd never committed. But today was different. Today, I wasn't a powerless child being lectured about family loyalty. Madison's car was already there. The same car where I'd photographed the stolen receipt. Mom's kitchen window glowed with warm light, and I could see silhouettes moving around inside, setting the table for what they thought would be my apology dinner. They expected contrition and family harmony. They were about to get comprehensive documentation and permanent boundaries. The dining room smelled like pot roast and false nostalgia. Everyone sat around the oak table from my childhood. Mom at one head, Dad beside her, Madison across from me with that designer handbag, bought with my stolen credit card, sitting proudly beside her chair. They expected a family reconciliation. I set my laptop and evidence binders on the table like I was preparing for a board meeting. Before we eat, I'd like to address what happened. My voice was steady, professional. Madison's smile tightened just slightly. Of course, Em. We all want to hear how you're feeling about this whole situation. How I'm feeling. Still framing theft as emotional interpretation rather than criminal action. I connected my laptop to Mom's TV and clicked to my first slide. Carter Family Financial Pattern, 2005-2024. Dad shifted uncomfortably. Emily, what is this? Systematic documentation of a 19-year pattern. The timeline appeared on screen. High school. False accusations leading to my financial responsibility. College years. Emergency loans never repaid. Post-college. Co-signing disaster damaging my credit. Present. Credit card theft. This isn't about one incident. It's about 2 decades of escalating financial manipulation. Madison tried to interrupt. Emily, you're being so dramatic. Let me finish. Then you can respond. For the first time in family history, Mom didn't immediately defend Madison. Let your sister speak, Madison. Click. My banking records filled the screen. Weekend transaction overview from my stolen credit card. Instead of reading individual charges, I showed the montage: luxury shopping, expensive dining, airline tickets, high-end hotel accommodations. Total, nearly $5,000 charged without my knowledge or permission. Click. Madison's social media appeared alongside the banking timeline. Instagram and Facebook posts documenting the spending spree in real time while my bank account was being drained. Madison's face had gone pale. Emily, how did you? It's all public, Madison. You documented your own crime. Click. Photo of the Louis Vuitton receipt I'd found in her purse. Purchase receipt showing my credit card information. Found in the handbag you brought to dinner tonight. Madison instinctively moved her purse behind her chair. Click. Hotel keycards and airline confirmations. Travel documentation using my financial information without consent. Final click. Screenshots of Madison's text conversation with Kayla appeared on screen. Madison. Emily is so gullible. I literally took her credit card and she probably thinks she misplaced it. Madison. She never stands up for herself. Family always takes my side anyway. Madison. She makes good money now, she can afford it. The room went completely silent except for the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. The confrontation reached its breaking point. Dad spoke first, his voice barely audible. Madison, did you actually write that? Madison's careful composure finally cracked. It was just... I was frustrated. I didn't mean it to sound... You called me gullible while spending my money. My voice stayed level. You bragged about manipulating family dynamics to avoid consequences. Mom's voice was whisper quiet. Madison, how could you do this to your sister? Mom, it's not as bad as Emily is making it seem. She's always been good with money, and I was desperate. You weren't desperate. You were entitled. The micro-change moment came from an unexpected source. Mom stood up suddenly and looked directly at Madison. Get your purse. What? The designer handbag. Bring it here. Madison reluctantly brought the bag to the table. Mom opened it, found the receipt I'd photographed, and studied it under the dining room light. This receipt shows Emily's credit card number. You did steal from your sister. Mom's voice was flat and final. For the first time in my adult life, my mother chose documented evidence over Madison's story. The declaration of boundaries came naturally. Standing up, I looked at each family member directly. From now on, ask before you use. Verify before you accuse. No one borrows my financial information without explicit permission. No one expects me to absorb damage for the sake of family harmony. And no one gets to dismiss theft as a misunderstanding. Looking directly at Madison, you will make full restitution. You will stay away from my financial accounts. And you will stop positioning yourself as the victim of your own choices. The room fell completely silent. Madison couldn't deny the documented evidence. My parents couldn't gaslight away screenshots and receipts. For the first time in 29 years, no one could make me doubt my own reality. Madison's voice was small and broken. I thought I could pay it back before you noticed. I never meant for it to get this serious. Madison, you've never paid anything back. Ever. And bragging about it to your friends shows this was never about desperation. It was about entitlement. Dad's shame was visible. Emily, we owe you a massive apology. We should have seen this pattern years ago instead of always expecting you to be the understanding one. The evidence was always there. You chose to see Madison as someone who needed protection instead of someone who needed to face consequences. Within days, the truth spread naturally. Aunt Carol called Madison directly. I cannot believe you stole from Emily and then bragged about it to friends. This crosses every line of family decency. Madison's friend circle distanced themselves after Kayla shared the text screenshots widely. Trust, once broken through documented cruelty, wasn't easily repaired. Several of Madison's part-time photography clients canceled bookings when word spread through Phoenix's interconnected social networks. Actions had professional consequences. Under legal pressure, Madison sold the designer purchases, returned unworn items, and committed to monthly payments for the remainder. Her boyfriend ultimately helped cover the immediate balance to avoid criminal charges, creating relationship strain from financial burdens he hadn't created. Boundary establishment became non-negotiable. I changed all emergency contacts from Madison to Jessica. New credit cards came with enhanced fraud monitoring. No family members would ever again be authorized users on my accounts. I moved to a different apartment complex, a fresh start where spare keys stayed with building management, not family members who'd proven untrustworthy. Building chosen family proved more rewarding than repairing toxic relationships. 6 months later, Thanksgiving at my new apartment. Jessica and her husband, my neighbors the Patels, college friend Mark and his girlfriend, my coworker Sarah. 7 people around a thrift store dining table I'd bought myself. The smell of turkey from my small oven mixed with genuine laughter. No walking on eggshells. No fear of financial exploitation. No wondering when the next emergency would drain my resources. Madison was invited with strict conditions: complete restitution, written acknowledgement of harm caused, ongoing respect for boundaries. She came quietly, respectfully, like someone learning to rebuild trust rather than someone expecting automatic forgiveness. My original credit card, cut into pieces and mounted in a small frame on my kitchen wall. A reminder of vulnerabilities I'd overcome. My new credit card, secured, monitored, protected like the valuable financial tool it was. My credit score had not only recovered but reached heights I'd never achieved before. Looking around that Thanksgiving table at faces lit by candlelight, at people who celebrated my successes without trying to exploit them, I felt something I'd never experienced: complete financial and emotional security. Mom squeezed my hand during grace. Thank you for teaching us what real accountability looks like, sweetheart. Real family doesn't use you as a personal bank. They ask before they take. They verify before they accuse. And when they're wrong, they do the work to make it right. Ask before you use. Verify before you accuse. That's what genuine love looks like. The frame holding pieces of my old credit card caught the warm candlelight, reflecting back not evidence of betrayal, but proof of boundaries that had transformed my life.